From the deepest flooded pit cave in the world, which may be far deeper than we think, to some of the most claustrophobic-inducing, dangerous places in the world, these are underwater caves so mysterious that even robots won't go inside. The Hranice Abyss in the Czech Republic holds a reputation for being the deepest flooded pit cave in the world, reaching depths of about 1,704 feet or 519 meters, and most of that is underwater. Even though divers and researchers have made attempts to map the entire thing, there's still a lot we don't know about this cave, like its true depth. The number I gave was just the confirmed depth. It's likely much deeper. Most experts think it could be around 800 to 1,200 meters or 2,600 to 3,900 feet based on the temperature and chemical makeup of the water. Other research published in 2022 also supported this, but they can't say for sure, and even with years of effort, including robot explorations, no one has ever got to the bottom. The abyss is murky and the water conditions are unpredictable. It's not like your typical cave dive, where you can at least make out the shape of the passages. The Hranice Abyss is filled with an unsettling mixture of darkness and unknowns. Divers have only explored a small part of it, with some sections deemed too dangerous even for the most advanced robots. The combination of how deep it is and how little we know about it makes it one of the most mysterious underwater locations on the planet. With all our technology, there's still a lot about the place we've yet to figure out. When you think of underwater caves, the Sistema Sac Actun in Mexico is pretty much exactly what you picture in your head. It's not just one cave, but an entire system that stretches over 235 miles, making it the longest known underwater cave system in the world. It's found in the Yucatan Peninsula, and this massive network is filled with both open water and dry passages, but even with years of exploration, there's still so much we don't know. As you can imagine, with a cave system this big, there's a lot of variation. You have narrow corridors, large chambers, and unexpected drops, which makes it incredibly difficult to fully explore. The water can be murky, and as you go deeper, the passages become more treacherous. Even experienced divers have gotten lost down here and drowned. So diving in Sac Actun can be dangerous, but sending robots has been just as challenging. Robots have been used to map some of the cave system, but it's slow going and parts of the system are still completely unexplored. The system is constantly shifting with underground rivers and the risk of flooding. Even though divers have spent years working in Sac Actun, it's dangerous and unpredictable, and we may never truly know the full extent of its size or what it's hiding deeper down. But there have been some really cool finds here already, like mastodon bones alongside the remains of a prehistoric human, which may be the oldest evidence of human habitation in the Americas. Just makes you wonder about all the other amazing things that could be hiding deeper down. Lechuguilla Cave in New Mexico is like the stuff of cave diving legend. It's one of the deepest caves in the world, with a depth of over 1,600 feet or about 500 meters, but it's not just the depth that makes it difficult to explore. The real challenge comes from the unpredictable and dangerous nature of the cave itself. The system is this maze of narrow, sharp tunnels and massive chambers with jagged rocks and unpredictable water currents. What makes this cave so hard to explore is the extremely tight, narrow passages in some parts of the cave. Divers have to navigate through passages that are so narrow they can barely squeeze through. And on top of that, the cave is filled with highly acidic water, which makes it even harder for explorers and robots to get too deep into the cave. The acidic water dissolves rocks and creates a constantly shifting environment. So even with all the high-tech equipment we have today, we're still a long way from fully mapping out Lechuguilla. The latest big discovery was in 2012, when a whole new section of passages, pits, and tombs was discovered, which they named Oz. Some parts of the cave are just too dangerous to explore though, so Lechuguilla Cave is still one of the most mysterious places in the world. The Blue Hole is one of the most famous underwater sinkholes in the world, and it's easy to see why. This giant blue circle in the ocean off the coast of Belize is a natural wonder. The hole itself plunges to depths of about 1,000 feet or 300 meters and is part of a much larger cave system beneath the water's surface. Thousands of divers have flocked here to check the place out. Even still though, a lot of it is untouched. Many parts of the cave system below the blue hole are completely unexplored, and the deeper you go, the more unpredictable it gets. The dark, cold water near the bottom is treacherous. Strong water currents make it dangerous for even some of the most experienced divers. On top of that, the murky water makes it hard for robots to get accurate readings, and the sheer depth of the blue hole limits how far anyone can safely go. So even though this is one of the most iconic dive sites on Earth, there are still massive sections of this sinkhole that are a complete mystery. Wakulla Springs in Florida is known for its crystal clear waters, but beneath the surface is a massive underwater cave system that's still largely unexplored. The Wakulla Springs cave system stretches for miles underground and is one of the longest underwater cave systems in the United States. Now, large sections have been mapped, but there's still a lot of the system that's a complete mystery. The cave has everything: narrow passages, large chambers, tight spaces, and unpredictable water conditions. The murky water makes it difficult for divers and robots to explore deeper sections of the cave. The system also includes places with strong, unpredictable currents, which makes it especially dangerous to navigate. So, even though researchers have managed to map some areas, the fact that the system is still evolving means that no one really knows how much of it is left to be discovered. Hoyo Negro, or the Black Hole, is one of the most mysterious and dangerous underwater caves in the world. Found in the Yucatan Peninsula, it's a deep submerged cave that's famous for containing some of the oldest and most complete fossilized remains of prehistoric creatures like giant sloths and saber-toothed tigers. The entrance is nearly vertical, and once inside, the cave becomes even more treacherous. The water is freezing cold, the visibility is poor, and strong currents make it tough to navigate even for robots. Now, aside from the fossils, none of this sounds like a great time. Even the name of the cave is ominous. Like, hey, wanna go climb into a cold, dark, dangerous cave called the Black Hole? No. Have you seen The Descent? Honestly, have you seen The Descent? Great movie. Even still though, researchers love this cave, and to be fair, that's not surprising. There's a lot to learn here. Who knows what kind of other amazing fossils are still left to be found. The Orda Cave in Russia is one of the most beautiful underwater limestone caves in the world. Stretching over 4 miles or 7 kilometers, it's one of the longest underwater caves and the largest underwater gypsum cave in the world. What makes it so unique is the crystal clear water, which allows you to see these massive white limestone formations in incredible detail. It's beautiful, but the cave itself is treacherous. A lot of it is narrow, and the underwater currents in the Orda Cave are unpredictable. And parts of it are so deep that the pressure makes it nearly impossible for anything to go deeper. So there are still sections that are untouched. Even though it's one of the most beautiful caves in the world, Orda is still filled with unknowns, especially in those deeper areas. The Painted Cave in Santa Cruz Island in California is famous for its incredible rock formations and vibrant colors, but this place is also mysterious. There are large sections of it that are still unexplored. What's immediately noticeable is the ancient artwork here though. The cave walls are covered in petroglyphs. Always cool to see prehistoric artwork, and it also shows that people have been fascinated by this place for thousands of years. Today, divers are drawn to it, but the cave presents some challenges. There are narrow passages, strong currents that make it difficult to explore. Robots have been used to map out some parts of the cave, but they still have a hard time with the particularly confined spaces and the unstable environment. Even with all the exploration, there are still parts of the cave that are inaccessible, and the unpredictable water conditions make it impossible to get a complete picture of the cave's real size. Ginnie Springs in Florida is one of the most famous freshwater springs in the world, known for its crystal clear water. But beneath the spring, there's a cave system that's not only beautiful, but incredibly dangerous. The cave network below Ginnie Springs is huge, with tunnels, large chambers, and narrow twisting sections, and there's still a lot of the system that hasn't been mapped out. The murky water and shifting sand make it difficult for divers to explore, and the dangerous underwater currents mean that even experienced divers can easily get disoriented. There are even parts of the cave that have been completely inaccessible thanks to flooding or collapse. Cueva de las Sardinas, also known as the Cave of Swallows, is this massive vertical shaft in San Luis Potosi, Mexico, and it's famous for its sheer depth, over 1,200 feet or 370 meters. The cave is wide at the top, but once you descend, the walls start to close in, and the narrow, winding passages make it extremely difficult to explore. The cave is connected to a larger underground river system, but divers haven't fully mapped out all of it. The water in the cave can be dangerous, and the confined spaces make it difficult for both divers and robots to navigate. Despite being one of the most well-known caves in Mexico, parts of it are still completely unexplored. It's also home to bats, which fly in and out of the cave all the time, which certainly adds another layer of spookiness to the place. With all that said, I've been your host, James. I'll catch you, yes, you specifically, in the next video.